Hello. Hello, everyone. Hopefully, this is all working well. Hi, Sarah. How are you? Good to see you come in. Thank you for joining us. Let me see if everything's working now. Hello, hello. Hi there. Hi, everyone. Good to see you. Good to see you. Hello. Thanks for joining. So nice 5th of July day here in the Balkans, and suppose it's getting warm already for the summer. I don't know how it's like for you at the moment, but it's good to be back online and live with you about the conference. Salam. Go nuclear. Also, hello. Hi, Eric. Hi, Mustafa. Hi, everyone. Hi, Philip. Nice to see you all joining there on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Instagram. It's great to have you all with us. Today we're going to obviously talk about what's going on with the Polyglot Conference. And yeah, if anybody's here at all to want to talk about language learning, of course, I'm very, very happy to have you join me on my own channel on Thursdays at 7 p.m. Central European Time. And I'm happy to answer any language questions then. For now, we are talking about the Polyglot Conference and all things global. Hi Ming, mir geht's gut, hallo, wie geht's? So, a few things that I thought would be useful to talk about today would be just to sort of confirm a few things about what to expect and to see if there are any questions that come up for you at the moment about the Polyglot Conference Global. Of course, the Polyglot Conference Global this year is going to be taking place over a 10-day period, which means that we've got 10 days together where we're going to be able to talk, interact. We're going to have time to listen to lots of wonderful people speaking about lots of brilliant topics and giving us a window into their world, which is what we want, right? We want to see what's going on all around the world. We want to know all about people's language lives, language journeys, things that are for them. We've got this great overarching top. My world is basically an opportunity to share your story. You can share your language stories, you can share your cultural insights, you can share anything you want relevant to where you're from, where you are. You know, for all the sort of living as a foreigner, living there as a person from there, what it's like on a day-to-day basis, the different types of languages that you have, and well, Stella, you want to join the conference one. This on Facebook, sorry, on YouTube. I can see that you want to join one day. This is your day. You can join this year because Polyglot Conference Global this year will be, obviously, we won't be able to be in person because of what's going on with the pandemic around the world, but we will get to enjoy many, many people around the world on our sort of virtual environment that we're creating for you, so that you will have a feeling of being together and united as an entire globe, which is why we're calling it global. There will be stories and presentations and opportunities to interact, practice your languages, of course, with people from all over the globe. And it's going to take place between the 16th and the 25th of October this year, over a 10-day period. You're going to have lots of presentations you can watch. You're going to have the chance to submit your questions, to ask people who are presenting about what they're talking about, things that interest you, things that interest you about them, what they're saying, about their lives. All these great things. We will get all those together and we will have your questions asked. Sometimes we'll have opportunities live as well to ask questions, but we'll also collate the questions so that they can create responses for you that are tailored to exactly what you want to know. And that's something quite unique, obviously, to what we normally have at the Polyglot Conference, because we don't normally get this opportunity as a globe to interact with each other and to do that over a period where we all get together. The really cool thing is that this year we're looking at using our sponsorship money and everything else to pay for as much as possible for all of the technology that needs to take place, be in place for this, and also for any other investments that we need to make this thing work. And the reason we're doing that is what we're going to do is we want to have a ticket system, which we're still developing, and how we're going to release that, and we will do it soon. And what that will entail is a donation from people. We'll have a suggested donation, but if you can't, or you're not in a position to donate at the moment to help with the payment, that doesn't matter. We don't want to exclude. Our goal is to include as many people from as many different places as possible, and so you will always get the chance to take part at the Polyglot Conference this year. It is really a truly global event that anyone and everyone all over the world can take part in, enjoy, and actually get the most out of. So if you haven't yet checked out our call for papers, then I do strongly encourage you to do so. The call for papers this year is as inclusive as it can possibly be, and it is as wide and broad as it can possibly be. What that means is, of course, for us at the Polyglot Conference, we want to hear from as many different people as possible. Now, what we do here and what you hear around the world happening at the moment with the Black Lives Matter protest going on, and people talking about Black Lives Matter. Now, what we understand at the Polyglot Conference from this whole thing, and what we have done, is we have looked at the Polyglot Conference itself. And what we've noticed is that actually, do you know what? People don't always apply to speak from lots of different backgrounds. We do get a nice range of people talking, of course, but we don't always hear from everyone. And so for us, what Black Lives Matter means is that we need to encourage Black voices to talk at the conference. A question that's come up a few times is actually, where are the African voices? Where are the voices from our African continent? We've got so much diversity in Africa in this world, and we just don't hear from many people from Africa. We've heard from people from Europe, from North America, South America, from Asia, even from Australia and New Zealand, but we don't often hear from people from Africa. And that's why one of the things we've said is this year we really want to make sure that we hear from as many people as possible. And it's one of the reasons why we've actually made it this global event, that we do get to hear from everyone. We still want to hear from our friends from Asia and Europe and the South Pacific and North America and South America. We strongly encourage people in Africa particularly to apply to talk this year, because we think that diversity is something we don't hear enough about. We don't hear about the beautiful languages of Africa hardly enough over the whole time we've been doing the Polyglot Conference. Even Black voices. Black voices, we've had four. It's not enough. 4 in the whole time we've been running the conference. It's really not enough. We need more, because if we don't hear from people from different backgrounds and different traditions and different sections of society in the whole world, not just in North America or Europe or wherever else in the world, where we have a very rich mix of people with different origins from all over the globe, it's important that we actually have people as well from Africa. People from Africa, actually African people speaking at the conference, we've had, again, very, very few. Black voices from Africa, I think it's 1. Not many, right? Not many at all. And actually people based in Africa who come to speak, at the moment currently based in Africa, I don't think we've had any. And we've had one other South African who spoke last year, which is Lindy Bordas, and she was fantastic. And so we know, having people like Lindy, who are just wonderful people, who have got lots of great things to share from Africa, who can speak, we would like more of that. And Africa itself is extremely diverse. So please, please, please apply. Look at the Black voices. I stress this now because it needs to be stressed. Clearly, it needs to be stressed because we're having what's happening around the world with Black Lives Matter. And so if I don't say it, then it's clearly not obvious to people that we do want that and we do welcome that and we think it's really important. And so, of course, everything else is important. And I think when Black voices realize that we want you to speak and we want you to be part of the chorus, until that's really, really obvious and we see this wonderful mix of the world speaking, that's when everyone's voice is totally valid and everyone realizes that everyone's welcome. It needs to be said until we reach that level. And then it's just, we carry on as normal, right? But it needs to be highlighted, it needs to be said, and it needs to be said loud and proud. And we need anyone and everyone out there who knows people with a great story to share it. Because if you don't get behind it, if you don't do it, it's only me saying it. And obviously I can't just say it myself. We've already had some fantastic shows and support for this, and I would love, 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 love for more of that to happen, for more of that sharing, for more of that caring, so we hear from more people. The other section of society that we don't hear from a lot is people with disabilities, and we have had some talks at the conference from people with disabilities. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that we need to always, if you have been learning languages, or if you've got a language story to share or a cultural story to share from a country where you want to show you off what it's like, maybe what's life like living in some parts of the world with disabilities, that could be really interesting as a topic as well. So, have you got something to share about what it's like living life as a deaf person, a blind person, what it's like? I mean, at the moment, for example, let me just give you an example. I'm doing this live. How do you watch this live, and how do you know what's going on in this live if you're deaf? Is there a way to have this automatically transcribe? How well does that transcription work? How well does it pick up what I'm saying? How accessible is this at the moment? These are all questions that, for me as a hearing person, I often take for granted, and I'm sure many of you do too. And until we hear from people in our community and people who make up our diverse and wonderful language learning world, we don't know. And this is an opportunity this year to get these accessibility issues raised too. What's it like traveling if you can't walk yourself, if you need access to wheelchair, or if you need other aids to help you move and be mobile? What's it like traveling around the world? What's it like learning languages? What's it like going out somewhere to practice? There are so many really, really cool topics. And if you have a life where you live and you need to live with a disability, often sometimes your story is really important to share because it's so encouraging to people who, I know for myself that I received many messages, and and I also think that you take for granted what you can do and how easily accessible things are, and then when you hear about somebody who has learnt languages and they have other things to face, living with disabilities, and how they overcome those disabilities and make the most of what they can do and the things out there, and they adapt things to make things work to be successful in language learning. So impressive, so impressive, and it just encourages more and more people as well, I think. So you can really be a true hero to many people, and true motivation. And so we do want to hear from you if you have you live with disabilities, or maybe you know people who live with disabilities, maybe you work with people, maybe you work in that just help to share that awareness, share that knowledge, and just raise the bar and raise the level of all of our voices in the chorus to make us as strong as we possibly can as a community, and also to make sure that we show that we're proud, loud and proud about our diversity. I know I'm very, very happy that we have such a great number of people from many different backgrounds in our community, and yes, I would love to see as many of that as possible, as much of that as possible. So What else do we have? So the black voices is also conjoined. We combine it with black voices with minority voices. Minority voices is also something we're very, very keen on, of course. And I think obviously we've just had Pride Month around the world, and of course any voices in the Pride from the Pride community very, very welcome to also have their voices heard at the Polyglot Conference. And I want to say one thing, because we did include this as kind of a part of a topic for last year as well at the conference. And I understand that there are people out there that have, I don't know, they don't share or they don't feel that they really quite get what Pride is about, or what Black Lives Matter is about, or they don't maybe agree even. And do you know what? You don't need to agree with everything that anyone says. You really don't. And I'm not going to stand here and say that I think that everyone has to be the same and everyone has to think the same. All I will say is, the things that we believe in, that Pride gives and that Black Lives Matter gives, is that everybody is valid and everybody has a voice and everybody deserves to be heard. And we believe that it's important to hear a diverse range of voices. And you don't need to watch every single thing that comes out of the Polyglot Conference. If you don't want to watch it, you don't need to watch it. If you don't want to take part, you don't need to take part. If you don't want to deliver something that calls to these things, you don't need to. But we think it's important that all the voices are involved. Okay, I have some lovely comments, so please, please, please do definitely think about this. Pride for me means this. The rainbow flag means this to me, individual, as me as a person. Okay, it means inclusion. It means bright colors, different colors that represent our entire world. And everybody has a color. Everybody is different. Everybody is unique. Everybody can identify with different parts of their self, their being, in different ways. And what we need to do as individuals is to connect with as many of these people to bring out the best in each other. And we don't need to identify with every single facet of each other's personalities, of each other's being, a soul, identity. We don't, because me, for example, as clearly a white man, I identify as a man, a male, or if you want to call a cis white gendered male, and I'm also married to a woman, so in heterosexual. But that's just one part of me. That's the very one part of me. Okay, I can represent that section and appeal to maybe that type of person. That means that for somebody who's young out there, who is coming to terms with their own identity, whatever that identity is, as human beings, we go through a passage and a journey in life, okay? That it's really important that we have people out there that we see and we can identify and say, I recognize myself in that person or that person or that person or that person. And if you know that you've been through that kind of struggle as well, where you've needed idols, you've needed heroes out there to represent you in a language learning community like this one, and you've not seen them yet, well, maybe it's because you're that person that needs to do it. And it's not always easy to be that person that needs to do it. And I have a fantastic colleague at work called Abe, and they came to talk at the Polyglot Conference last year to represent their section of society where people can identify with them as non-binary. And it's a brave thing to do, because there are people that don't like it for whatever reason. They don't like it, and therefore, and are quite vocal about and not liking it online. It's brave to represent your section of society, especially when your section of society is not always 100% accepted by everyone. And it's important we do this because there's no agenda with doing anything like this. There's no agenda politically. There's no agenda in any way, shape, or form. The only agenda is to show that everybody is welcome. That's literally it. And inclusive, tolerant to the point that my rights end where your nose begins. And that's what the Polyglot Conference stands for. My right to be who I am ends where your nose begins. So as long as I'm not affecting you as an individual, then I have the right to be me, and you all have the right to be you. And you have the right to be heard and respected by the people who want to hear and respect you. And that's kind of where I sit with this. And I believe I speak for everyone who's worked on the Polyglot Conference, that we definitely want to see this level of compassion, this level of understanding, reality. Of many, many years of living in different countries, I've learned that not only are our cultures, do they differ to some degree. What's polite in one country is not polite in another. One language, how it represents the world or how you see the world can be slightly different. And there are talks that we've had at the Polyglot Conference. Sometimes I agree with it, sometimes I don't. But what I can do is listen, and I can take on board a different perspective. And that's what I think is important in the world. I've lived in many, many places where my opinions, even the history that I was taught at school was different to the history taught in the schools in those countries. And until we hear a different side of everything, it doesn't really give us that full focus, I think, on what we hear, because we can think that we're as objective as possible, and we can be as open as possible. I think though sometimes that it's very difficult unless we hear the things that we don't know or believe, or even things that go really against what we think. Until we hear where that's coming from, we don't really appreciate what that difference is. And it's very easy to block or to shout or to argue. And sometimes it's clearly we just do not agree, or we agree to disagree. And I think agreeing to disagree is actually way more powerful than in the world. And just saying, okay, you think that, I think this, and that's it. And this is why a window into my world, I think, as a concept for the Polyglot Conference Global is super important and super powerful, because it gives you the option to listen to someone. And even if you don't agree, or even if you don't identify with it, you can still cheer somebody on for standing up and being counted and being brave and representing, and doing a service to that one person in the middle of nowhere, in a community where they feel alone and they feel that they'd have no one to identify with because there's no one around them who identifies with them. That's what you give when you talk at the conference or when you join in. Okay, that's how I see this year. And so I hope that what we can do is we can have many, many different things available to talk about this year. We can have shorter presentations that deal with maybe even 5, 10, 15 minutes maybe, and we can try and group those for you. We'll organize them in a way that makes sense for the conference. The other thing that we can do as well is have the longer presentations for, say, up to maybe half an hour, where you can present something very structured, something that, for example, maybe is more academic. It's your academic research that you want to show. We've had a number of people who have been doing academic research join us at the Polyglot Conference over the years, who have really come forward with what they're doing and presented their research to a wider audience. Now, academia is kind of has often been seen as kind of an inside-outside thing, right? And if you're from academia, it can feel that it's kind of just very academic and quite closed. And also from the outside, you can almost feel like it's almost impenetrable to kind of get into or hear some of the things that are going on from inside. So what this does is it gives you a chance to highlight your work and have it on a neutral platform with the Polyglot Conference, where you can not just show what you're doing to people in your fields, but also to people outside, people all around the world who can hear about what you're doing, about the research you're doing, about the work you're doing, and they can get insights into that, which may inspire them to also do similar things later in life. But the other cool thing that it can do is it can really help people who maybe want to find their way to do something like that, or to help you to to get people who with your research. So what we've done with the Polyglot Conference in the past is got people to help with research studies, so they can help take part in whatever you need. And this is really cool because it means that you reach a different and new audience. So we really encourage people who are in academia to take part and to share their work. And we've done this in the past and it's been extremely successful. In fact, I've had some lovely feedback from people who've taken part in the Polyglot Conference with their research, and it's just been a super thing. Just excuse me 1 second. Oh, I do apologise. The disadvantages of being live are that you have live things going on side, unfortunately. So do excuse me for my short step away from the computer. Right, so where were we with this? With the new that we would like to do, obviously, is we're going to Cholula next year, and if we're going to prepare the way to Cholula, I've already reached out to the people who submitted papers for the conference that was meant to take place in Cholula this year, and now obviously we're going to be global. And what that means is that we're going to have some talks that are related to moving forward. We would definitely encourage people to learn some of the Mexican languages to help celebrate Mexico. So that could be Spanish, but it also could be any one of the 30 or more indigenous languages of Mexico, including the indigenous language to Cholula, which is Nahuatl. And of course, you can check out the Zaloa languages, who are working with us this year, with Anya at the helm, and Nai, and their wonderful team. And they have some Nahuatl courses on their page. So you can actually, and at the school that you can actually do Nahuatl with them, as well as Spanish, of course, and I think a few other languages. So you can celebrate. We also have italki confirmed as a sponsor, which is wonderful. So italki is going to be representing too. I'm also pleased to say that we've had confirmed that Link will also sponsor the Polyglot Conference this year, and very, very pleased to have Link around. Steve Kaufman is a real gem in our community. He I'm sure will be speaking too, and yeah, I'm very, very pleased to say that they will be. It's recently very hot off the press, this news, so we will have confirmation of that very soon on the website too. It's not there yet. That happened just this weekend. Yesterday was the 4th of July, and unfortunately I got this message, and yesterday I was out all day, not because I'm celebrating the 4th of July as an American, it's because it also happens to be my daughter's birthday. So we were celebrating my daughter's birthday in another part of the country. And so we will be celebrating all of these cool things. There are a number of other topics that you may think of that fall out of this sphere. I'm not sure how many more, because it's as inclusive as it can possibly be this year in terms of welcome to submit. What we'll do is we'll order all of the talks in a way that makes sense for the community. Thank you very much for the happy birthday wishes. I really appreciate that. Thank you. And I would really like to see more talks this year as well in different languages. So what you can do as well is also submit your talk in whichever language you want. You may subtitle it as well in any language, in English, including English. And we can also make sure that we have talks available in lots of languages. we have a number of people from many countries, for example, like Iran, and Iran is a very beautiful, rich country with a great culture and literary sort of rich literature that comes from Iran, and literary tradition is what I wanted to say, and unfortunately for Iranians, sometimes it's difficult to travel. So this is an opportunity to really open up countries like Iran and to say, let's see what's happening with you guys. How is your language learning going? What's it like with the multicultural and multi-ethnic and multilingual diversity in Iran? Because it's extremely diverse in terms of languages. So we would love to hear things like that as well. So please, please, please consider submitting things in your language. We can also see if we can get support as well. Once you've uploaded or shared with us your presentation, we can also look at getting subtitles in different languages too, as a team. And if we do that, clearly it will make it as accessible as possible to as many people as possible around the world. So I hope that this will encourage you to submit something. I hope that will encourage you to be as open to this conference and what it can be, and to be as positive as possible as to what it can give to everybody, and to be as inclusive to everybody, regardless of their background, regardless of who they are, the different facets of themselves. I really, really hope that this will encourage you to do that. So, are there any questions? Let me have a look to see if there are any questions that have come in. Let's see, I can see les enfants font des bêtises. Okay. Les enfants font de bêtises. Ah non, quand je suis parti, non, c'est un peu ça. Oui. So, okay. Language actually live. Is Richard actually live? I am live at the moment. Yes. So please feel free if you want to ask a question. I'm going to be live talking about language learning and languages on my Thursday on the Speaking Fluently channels, or Richard Simcott channel on YouTube. So please feel free to join me on Thursday with any questions about language learning. That will be at 7 p.m. Central European time. So 2 hours later than this one started. Is when I do that every Thursday. I do that. I started it during lockdown because it was a nice way for me to talk to you lovely people and have great interaction and talk about languages, which is what I love. Cześć, jak się masz? Thomas w Kanadzie. Dobrze? Jak się ma? Short separation. Yeah, short separation. Sentajos la informoj en linio forsato. Dankon. Mi tre ŝatas tion. Mi pensas ke ĝi estas tre grava afero. Por mi ŝajnas al mi ke ĝi estas ankaŭ eblon por la tuta mondo paroli sur multaj diversajn temoj, kaj mi pensas ke ĝi estos tre interesa, vera interesa konferencio. Would you please say how many hours a day you spend studying languages? Zahra, I would love to talk about the language learning. I spend basically my life is in different languages. So I live a multilingual life. So it's very difficult to say how many hours I spend learning. Probably at least 3 or 4 maybe a day. But it's difficult to say because I speak many languages on a daily basis at home anyway, and for my work. ¿Puedes hablar un poco en español? De español. Sí, claro. Pues vamos a estar en línea hoy. A ver si haces tener un acento. ¿Cuánto tiempo? Voy a hablar más sobre lo que hago para aprender idiomas y tal y cual el jueves a las 7. Es la hora de Europa en París. Hora de París. Y voy a hablar sobre lo que hago con mis idiomas, cómo hablo, cómo estudio, cómo los practico y tal y cual. Así que si quieres venir para hablar conmigo sobre esto, pues encantado. Estoy en mi canal, el otro canal, que es Speaking Fluently. Por eso estoy aquí más para la conferencia ahora mismo. pero voy a tratar estos asuntos este jueves y cada jueves, la verdad. Vaya, gracias. Okay, let me see. Any other questions that you want? Tips to improve learning English. So I'm getting some nice questions about language learning, which is wonderful. And I'd be very, very happy to talk more about language learning on Thursday. I want to really keep this as much as I can to the Polyglot Conference. If also things about language learning, for example, if you've got language learning techniques, language learning ways to improve accent, ways to improve your grammar, your language learning, doing things efficiently, your daily routines and habits, you can, of course, create presentations to give to people through the Polyglot Conference. It's also a very good way for you to Polyglot Conference to get your voice heard in different areas, right, around the world. So we've seen people go on from the Polyglot Conference to work together, to collaborate with other people, to create products, to create events. Many, many things have happened out of this, which is wonderful. So I would say if you have that kind of thing, definitely do share it at the Polyglot Conference. Consider making a presentation. You see people like Luca Lampariello, who makes videos, who was with me from the very beginning when we were talking about putting the first conference together, making videos about language learning and language learning techniques. Those kinds of things go down very well at the conference, and also reach different audiences. So please feel free to submit things like that too. And consider what it's like, for example, learning languages where you are and with the tools that you've got. I have a konnichiwa from Tim Keeley. Konnichiwa, Tim. How genki desu ka? Okay, so Tim Keeley is on my Facebook, I can see, on the Polyglot Conference Facebook, and Tim was our local host last year. So always wonderful to see Tim and to talk to Tim. Such a great guy and wonderful language learner with a wealth of information to share with people. And yeah, always a pleasure, Tim, to see you. This year, of course, with the online version, our local hosts or our technical team at the Polyglot Conference, Brett Sheffield and Esther Payne, they are going to be supporting us right throughout to put together a lovely platform for you to be involved in, to work together, to be able to interact with each other, to hear all the wonderful presentations, to comment, and to be a community. So we're looking forward to seeing all the wonderful things that they're doing, and soon they will have some more updates for us on what that will look like, and also we'll be able to move forward with things like making sure you've got your name down to be part of the Polyglot Conference Global 2020. And of course, we want to see as many of you there as possible. This is the year where as many people as possible can join in and should join in, because it's definitely a great place to have your voice heard. And we're very excited about that. So I can't see any more questions for now. I'm just going to check YouTube, and then I think we may have reached the end of our questions, which is a little bit early, but not unusual for us, actually, because obviously I think that people do want to talk languages. I mean, that's what I love about this, is I see just how exciting it is for people to talk about languages, which means that when you come to the conference online, you get to interact with each other, you get to make friends, and you get to talk about languages in languages with each other, because it shows that that is the thing that's really important as well at the conference. It's that time together. It's that being a community is really important to us. And we thrive on that, I think, as language learners. It doesn't matter if we're introvert, extrovert, doesn't matter where we're from or who we are or any facets of our personality, of our being, of our core being. It doesn't matter. We all unite because we love language. And that's what brings us together. Whether we speak one language, two languages, a gazillion and three, it doesn't matter. We all unite over languages. And I love that. I really love it. Okay, I'm going to see if there's any other thing that I can answer here. Can you share a link somewhere? Yes, the link to the Polyglot Conference I will share now. So it's polyglotconference.com is the link, if I'm writing it correctly. Now it's very small for me to see, unfortunately. But yes, it's on YouTube and on Facebook and on Instagram. You should have the link in the bio anyway, but I'm just going to pop it in there for you now, because So that's what you asked for. And I've just managed to turn my camera back to front on Instagram, which was a clever move on my part. Technology, here we go, hey? Who says that this wasn't live, right? So, yeah, please do take a look at the, and I've managed to get it wrong, just a second. Oh, that was very silly of me. So this is what happens when you write on a small, you write on a small screen that you can't see properly, and you manage to write Polyglot Conference incorrectly. This is a live moment right here, guys. This is you know, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, gentle beings and gentle people of the world. This is what happens when you cannot type correctly. I will do that again on Facebook and on YouTube, and hopefully that will now work. Polyglotconference.com is where you need to head to sign up for updates on the actual page, but also to sign up for your presentation to apply to talk at the Polyglot Conference. The call for papers is there. Please do sign up, do join. It'll be wonderful to have you. So of course, as I was saying, we've got Brett and Esther leading the way this year on the local side for this. We're also teaming up with the Langfest people, the wonderful Langfest people, with Tetsu and his team for some of our fantastic events socially, and italki is talking about many exciting things too. And then of course we will have presentations by our other sponsors of course as well, who will bring some lovely diversity to the topics, ranging from online things, whether they're authors, whether they're people who work on what they do. They have some great insights into language learning, and we've enjoyed those kinds of talks all through the years as well. We will also get a lot more time with our wonderful Zaloa languages, and with Anya and Nai and the team at the helm, just getting ready for Mexico, because they're going to be with us for 2 years and not one, which is absolutely wonderful because they're fantastic people. And having Tetsu and the Langfest people as well for 2 years, for sure, locked in, they can't get out now. That is also wonderful too. And very excited. I think that we've reached the end of the questions to do with the Polyglot Conference, and I have really enjoyed talking to you all. If there are any last minute questions, let me know now. If not, language questions, I will come to you with language questions and language answers, and a discussion all about languages in different languages on Thursday on my Speaking Fluently page on Facebook, YouTube and Instagram. And it's been wonderful talking to you and to go into a little bit more depth about the program and the kind of things we really encourage this year. I think it's worth repeating these things because I need to make it as implicit and as obvious as possible that we want to be as inclusive as possible, so that in turn other people feel included later on. And that this diversity just is a thing. It's not a thing we need to worry about. It's just a thing that everyone knows that everybody's valid and everybody is welcome. Okay. Thank you everyone for being with me for this live, and speak to you all soon. Take care everyone. Bye bye.